Okay. Just waiting until the kids passed over there, and I wanted to show you something. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Watch Poplars. Today, I'm going to show you some plants that are sprouting, and just some updates. So here I am on the road that goes to the gorge, which is over there, and I'll just put this here. Just taking it on a stroll. I don't know. But I got the dog. Yeah, so I just wanted to point out things that are native and things that are invasive. Now, I think the last video I filmed on this road it was November, mid-November, I think. It was I think it was called a cold front is approaching, and I was wearing that inspirational outfit from Yosemite that I wore, where I looked just like a naturalist. So yeah, but anyway, this is the road that was filmed on, and I will not, of course, give that name of the road, but I just wanted to show you a plant that I'm not really sure what it is. I don't know, but it has a very interesting leaf texture, and I've never seen it before. Listen to this. Now, I looked through some of the suggestions that Siri gave me when I took numerous, very close-up pictures of the characteristics of this, and one of the suggestions was Veronica. I don't know, but there's a whole bunch of it. I just realized. I thought it was just right here, by the post, but then by the other post right here, there's more. It's everywhere. It's coming up all over the place. Yeah. So like I'd say to there, all the way over. I don't know. There's a lot. I mean, the most of it is right here. And I think there's a deer trail that goes like that. But that's for deer, not for humans. I think it looks like that was like it. And it's just the area it's growing in. I don't know if it's native, but it's certainly not forming a monoculture. If anything, it's this invasive geranium that is from Europe. And because it is from a wetter area, Europe gets rain, like even the Mediterranean, places that get dry summers, we should call them, I don't know, like Pacific Northwest, not Mediterranean, because even in the Mediterranean, it can rain in the summer. But like here, we don't get any rain in the summer. We have like 2 months, July and August, where there's almost for sure no rain, naturally. But we're developing a thunderstorm season because of climate change. Hopefully I didn't trigger the grandpas out there, but anyway. So there's this plant growing here, among all the poison oak, which is really nice and lovely. It serves ecologic benefits, and among the French broom, which you can see. I don't know why I touched the phone earlier, but there it is. There's the French broom. There was a huge monoculture here, a big mass, and it existed here before the landslide. Right here, it was a little landslide, and that's as far as it got. So it wasn't much. It was just during the winter. But you can see it's starting to sprout back. They didn't pull it all out, you know, but if someone comes here, probably me, just with their hands and, you know, or maybe scissors just in case the wood gets too tough, I will just pick off all the shoots. Not pruning them, but tearing them off so that I get the place where they sprouted out as well. Now, up here, at the top of like, this is before the landslide fell, but there was a strange plant. And for more than a year, there was a stalk, and it had these round, flat, disc-shaped seed pods. And in the middle was a cluster of seeds. And they were, the capsules, the disc-shaped pods were papery. They had papery seeds, well, and the seeds were also disc-shaped. The seed cases were, the pod was kind of translucent. So, yeah, the sun lit them up when they were in the sunlight, and it just looked strange. And I didn't notice them coming up last year. I don't know if they're biennials. They could be biennials, but I've been looking. But when this landslide fell down in like January or something, I think it was February, because you got some hard rains in February. It was here. There was a stalk from that plant, and so I salvaged it. I saved it. Got some seeds, but I also threw some seeds back around here, and in hopes to spread it, because I've never ever seen that plant before. I was assuming it was. I mean, it wasn't even doing harmless non-native stuff. It was doing stuff that a native plant would do, like a rare one. But you know, I've never ever seen it before. I never got to get a close-up. The flowers, because it was alive during 2023, and all I remember seeing was the dry stalk with the seeds. But I collected some seed and planted them in a pot that is with my accent plants right now, and you know, someday I'll show you that. But there's this plant, and I do think it would be nice to someday come here with a pot and collect one of these individuals. Maybe a couple or three, just to kind of see what it does and see what the flowers look like. You can see that, at least here in this dry microclimate, you know, there used to be a bunch of French broom snags here. Here's one of them. There's another. There's a French broom snag. But, now this has allowed a bunch of other stuff to sprout up, and this is why I'm going to keep removing all the French broom, as usual. Okay, and I want to see. I'm curious. And, you know, when you remove an invasive, the first thing that happens is you get a jumble bunch of invasive shit like the Italian thistle, which I could probably show you. There. I don't know, but there's the Italian thistle. It's very nasty. It was probably just a seed attached to someone's shoe or a sock or whatever, and then they carried it on a boat many hundreds of years ago, and it ended up getting here. I don't know how. Escaping the laundry. But, you know, somehow it came unstuck, and then it probably spread from the east, unless there was someone from heading over here during the gold rush. So there's that. Probably the latter, but yeah, there's a mixture of this native Symphoracarpos rotundifolia. It is a snowberry, and it's native. It's a very peaceful shrub, more like a bush. But then there's a willow herb here. I don't know. I'm gonna just call it Epilobium lanceolata because the leaves are they look kind of lanceolate. They're very skinny and slender. And these fold up. They kind of fold when it gets dry. So this is more dry adapted. And when this gets full grown, these get like big stalks. They can grow into big 1 meter tall at most. Maybe. I mean, I might be exaggerating, but they can get quite tall, more than a foot tall. And they get kind of bluish. The flowers are very tiny as well. But it's a nice plant, and it gets nice red pigments in the leaves. And what else? I don't know what this is. I think this is some invasive shit growing here. Some grass that doesn't stay green very long. Yeah, but there's this plant, and this plant, it's very interesting. I've never felt a plant that has this texture of leaves, but the leaves kind of turn purple when they get old and kind of dry out, but some of them are still sprouting, and they're quite vigorous. There's one in here that's really sprouting. There's one that's really purple. It's a mystery, but I don't even know if they have enough time to flower. If they're native, they'll probably flower soon before it gets too dry. But, I have come here with a watering can. There was a watering can in the gorge, and I came over here with it full of creek water, and I just watered around the post. And I think I will keep doing that until I know what the flowers look like, and so that I get a proper identification from Siri. Because Siri gives me links to Wikipedia where I can read up on it, and that's why I know. Well, I started doing this more research stuff after I started watching Crime Pays But Botany Doesn't. So yeah. But I'm learning from Wikipedia thanks to Siri, with the help of Crime Pays But Botany Doesn't. Now I wanted to go a little bit more. The big leaf maples are doing well. They're growing very fast. Look at that. There's 1 meter shoots on this maple. There's one going that way, and there's one going like that. Very fast growing maple. That's all this year's growth. Very incredible. But there's more. So there's this trail here. I'm a little uneasy about it because there's a bunch of poison oak clippings, and I'm wearing pants, but I'm also wearing socks as well. It would be nice. I'll see. It doesn't look very stable, but I'm just worried about the dog. I'm not worried about myself, I'm just worried about the dog. Maybe I am worried about myself. But there's a member of the Pterodacea. Oh. I think it's one of the resurrection ferns here. So this is just it. when it's moist, but in the summer, this curls up and dries out and goes dormant. You can see there's more of those white spots over there on the moss, that little moss cliff. That's also the same thing, but it just dried out sooner. Got the native honeysuckle, lots of it, and it's its flowering season right now in early June, peak flowering season for the Lonicera hispidula, the invasive monoculture geranium is starting to go dormant for the dry season. And this is why I have a guilty pleasure with a lot of geraniums, because maybe there's one geranium that is native to California, but it's not like the European ones that do this. And I wish they did this in fall, but either we'd need to have summer rains, or these would need to have a big tuber in the ground to do that. But even then, like the manroot, wherever that is, I thought there was a manroot over here somewhere. This just seems like the place where it would be. There's a bunch of in the rose family. You have thimbleberry, which is actually in the genus Rubus, which is where you often hear about raspberries and blackberries. Thimbleberries, yeah. Oh, here. I don't think. Where else did I see this here? Because I never noticed it here until just now. I've been here for all the time I've been here. I didn't notice Scrophularia californica. And it's in its own family, Scrophulariaceae. Now, this is a very good plant if you want bees in your garden. I don't see it flowering. I think it's done. But as far as I can see, this is the only little area I see it. And I think it would be a bit more widespread if the invasive shit was gone, such as all the English ivy infestation and the geraniums. And now here, I don't know. I'm not good with any nightshades, but there's probably one that's native. But this is, I think it's a Solanum nigra. Now, well, oh yeah, there is one for sure that's native. Oh look, there's a spider. It's created its home on top of a leaf. That's very interesting. But here, it's in flower, and there will be soon, well, there's already forming some of the toxic berries that will eventually be black in August and September. I don't think they go through, they don't turn red, so they probably don't look very suggestive to humans, which is good, because they're deadly poisonous. This is deadly black nightshade. I don't know what the scientific name is. It could be Solanum nigrum. I don't know. I can't assume things, because then I'm just not being informative. Now, the main trait that's here is Umbellularia californica, and some people get allergic reactions to it. I don't. I eat the leaves. I've eaten the leaves straight from the tree, and it was really nice. Yeah, but this whole area smells very nice of the bay laurels, and they are in the laurel family. So the common name is, it's not like a whole bunch of the others for pretty much every plant in existence that really shouldn't exist. Like Indian hawthorn. That's shit's name. That is a shit name. It's the scientific names, they actually, in almost 90% of the time, the scientific names will actually help you distinguish the differences. So like Populus alba is a white poplar, and it is indeed white. Umbellularia californica is a umbellularia native to California. I keep hearing like something that sounds like a swarm of bees in the distance around here, and I don't know. Very, very distant. It's probably the road. But, you know, I'm not concerned at all because I don't see it. So once someday all this ivy will be gone. Someday there will be projects to restore this area. And thanks to the owner, which is somewhere over there, all of this is intact. But you know, the scary thing is what happens when they get too old or when they move out. You know, this should be preserved. There's a bunch of potential for this I'm not saying like spreading housing wise. I'm saying it has a lot of potential because there are native plants that are trying to hold their ground and have a chance, like the Aurelia californica over there by the patch of ivy. It has massive leaves and it gets really good fall colors. Yeah, the raspberry, you know, you'll be delighted with a bunch of, in April, a bunch of white flowers. And later in the summer, you get sometimes some berries. But they don't look like the normal berries where you can actually put your thumb or like finger in them. Yeah, and there would be so much more diversity and, you know, opportunity. More sword ferns that look really cool coming up. And of course, we'd have to keep this, we'd have to remove the cherry laurel tree right there from the previous house in the 1900s that was there. This was the path that they walked up their groceries to get to their front door. And this is where they parked their car. And the house is over there, but it's now completely, it is since completely disintegrated. But out of that material, some younger, I don't know, also in the 1900s, their cabin. There was a little cabin built out of the remains of the house. But whatever. There's an elderberry. That's nice. What's it called? I forgot the scientific name. Yeah, there's a bunch of good stuff. So I think the clearance that I'm starting here, I just want to save the Aurelias over there. But there's more to save. I have to wear really long gloves, probably very thick and stiff gloves, because there's also raspberries that are native growing amongst the ivy, and I could do that during winter, so that it's when nothing's growing. You know, a lot further from the creek over here. I don't know where this monoculture started. I don't know where all the English ivy, where the origin of it, but I mean, this is where the sexually mature ivy is, where it's climbing up the trees. It changes its leaf shape. It gets coarser growth. It grows slower, but it flowers, and the flowers smell vile. And I think I don't know. It looks like it. There are some trees that have gained too much extra weight from the English ivy crawling up it. There's a tree right there that looks really strangled. I think it does actually strangle some of the trees. So you know, someone's gonna do it. If I don't do it, then when is it gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? When is someone gonna come here and deal with the invasive plants? Yeah, so it also, the English ivy keeps a ton of moisture in the soil. Now, even though there would already be a bunch of moisture in the soil if it was just without ivy. It looks like a tree broke right there recently. Right there, I don't know. Anyway, there would be plants that come up and then they die off before the dry season, like annuals and, you know, little perennials. There could have been soaproot here if this was not here, but a bunch of plants would exist, a bunch more, and it would look a lot more pretty. Yeah, so it's I don't know. Plus the ivy shades out pretty much anything that is very small. So there's that. So you kind of, so it takes even more time than it's supposed to for smaller plants that, I don't know, like the ferns. The ferns can take quite a while to get big and mature. And, you know, so they're probably struggling. A lot of this is supposed to be ferns and redwood trees. It's supposed to be a mix of bay laurels, big leaf maples, sword ferns, and redwood trees. And maybe a few other native deciduous plants near maybe even tan oak. Tan oak, it's not even an oak. Notholicocarpus. Notholithocarpus. Still in the oak family, but it's not a true oak. But, you know, I can understand why a lot of people are gonna try avoid learning how to pronounce that word. There's a bird here. So I've spent a lot of time, you know, talking over there, but there's more to see, more to show. And what is this? It does not look like the herb Robert I'm familiar with, although it is growing exactly how it does. I've never ever seen a specific geranium before, but it has white flowers. And I don't know if I can. So it just has white flowers. And I could fix the camera, but I don't know. I'll just focus. So there's that. It's white. It's not purple, like I'm familiar with. Yeah. So, you know, when the fire marshals do come in here and they clear out the forest floor, they remove every single thing on the forest floor. And if you just remove the English ivy, and all the invasive stuff, you've already done most of the work. So, yeah. And I think, I don't know, I feel like all this fire suppression, and I'm not against it. I mean, I'm against some parts of it, like Smokey Bear, because of Smokey Bear, a bunch of our forests are overgrown, and that will result in a magnification of the ferocity of the fires here because of all the undergrowth, the overgrowth, and, you know, things die off because they're shaded out and it gets really dry. I don't know, but yeah, so more frequent fires help keep the forest healthy, but the more frequent you get fires, the less severe they are. So you know, if you get fires like a very minimal fire, let's say maybe at least once every other year, you have a really healthy forest with not a bunch of undergrowth, and it'll be really nice. You also get plants that you'll never see any other time but right after a fire, that could just wait for decades for another fire to seed and sprout. There's a bunch of this invasive forget-me-not plants. Yeah, they are a weed. And here they are. They're still blooming. And they are a member of the borage family, Boraginaceae. Because, I mean, well, now they're almost done flowering, but, you know, earlier, like in April, maybe March, you'd see that the sign, or, you know, it's a kind of inflorescence, where the you know, this flower stalk is curled, and it unfurrows, you know, and the flowers, at the tip of the inside of the curl are the new flower buds, and then, you know, it kind of unfurls like a frond of a fern, and yeah, that's how the flower works on forget-me-nots and all borage members. But, you know, got to plant native roadside adapted plants. Well, at least here, because we still got to respect this climate we live in, where, you know, it's kind of the north side. You get a bay of laurels, you get coast live oak, madrone, hazel. There's hazel bushes here, elderberry, poison oak, and the, you know, Pteridacea, the ferns, all those little ferns, and get rid of the periwinkles and the invasive, because the periwinkles are invasive. The forget-me-nots are invasive. This grass is invasive. Pretty much almost every grass here is invasive, unless there's a grass that I just haven't done more research about. But yeah, there's a sycamore, a very ancient sycamore. It's a pale trunk in the distance, and it had a, you know, it's a native sycamore, Platanus racemosa, California sycamore, and earlier, last month, it came out really late, and maybe because, you know, the sycamores, they like the dry. They like wet feet, but they like dry air. So, and they break dormancy in early March, I think. Well, no, they break dormancy late March, generally. But, you know, they could be slowed down by fungal things that can, you know, if Platanus racemosa was growing in Oregon, it would just die, because that fungal issue would be going on for sometimes almost the whole summer, because it's rained so much. It's all humid, but the sycamores that are native here like dry air, but they like wet feet. They like being watered from the bottom, so they grow near creeks and dry areas. I think the sword ferns are starting to go dormant, unless those are last year's fronds. And then there's this, alum root. So I don't know, maybe under here, the alum roots, there's a big root. Maybe it just looks strange. But the flowers, and they're blooming, and they look really nice. Now it looks like here there was some restoration efforts, well, sort of. But this would be a really good spot to restore it, the roadside. Just because it's in a nice patch of sun, you get a nice chance for the native annuals and, you know, bulbous taproot perennials like manroot and stuff they're nice. And then I think, well, these could have been planted here. Well, that's really nice. They planted poppies. And the poppies, you know, the scientific name for the California poppy is very hard to pronounce. It has a bunch of SCH and stuff. It's really difficult, but you know, I'm practicing because I want to learn the scientific names and be able to know the distinguishing names from different species of a genus, of a family, of an order, of a class. And yeah. So here are the flowers of Lonicera hispidula. They're really nice, but I don't know. They either may not smell very strong or they're small and they don't really smell very strong. But, you know, they're not very fragrant, but they look really nice. So the figwort has already bloomed and now it is turning to seed. But you know, earlier in like April is its peak flowering time, and the bees just go crazy after it. There's a bunch of lemon balm here. Lemon balm galore. And I don't think it's native. It was probably brought here to, you know, make people's yards smell nice, or mostly likely used as a soap. So you'd had soap farms. There's morning glories here. You know, this would look great with a native grape, you know, and, you know, just a bunch of vines. A bunch of native vines, like the morning glory, right here, overtaking the invasive thistle. They're really nice. Why don't I see more of these? Why don't people plant all this beautiful stuff that is native in their yard? Why does society not talk about native plants? Why? I don't know. But it has very interesting leaves, that morning glory. They look very interesting. This hillside also has potential. I think that flowering bush might be native. It looks like it might be a legume, I'm not sure. Could be non-native, it's just I've never seen it before anywhere else but here. It could be native. I mean, it just gives off native vibes. I mean, that's a horrible way to describe it, because anyone who's trying to get into native plants, who's unfamiliar with them, won't know what I'm talking about, or will get misleaded, so I take that back. That's a horrible description of it, but there's monkey flowers blooming here. They have orange flowers, kind of yellow-orange. So since then, they did clear out this area a little bit. After I showed you this area in late September. I don't know if I saved that video, but you know, there was a deer right there. This is all overgrown with poison oak, and it looks really nice. But you know, it did pose a hazard. And I do think they removed the poison oak overhead because whenever it rains, the oils and the urushiol toxins in the foliage and the stem would rain down. Yeah, I think they cut it off at the base because it's still draped on. I mean, the dead remains are still on the tree. But this is where all the madrones are, and they're really happy. They flowered and they're turning to seed. But there's a plant here. And it looks like it's done flowering. If there's any remaining flowers, because I was here, I think, late May. Oh, there's one. But there's a bunch of poison oak. I'll try to safely approach it. So that's native. That's a native shade plant. So this is also native. And I don't know why people don't plant that, but that's native. It's really nice. Yeah. It grows into a little branched perennial, I think. And, you know, its flowers are very inconspicuous. They're very small, but it flowers at the end of the branches, and then it turns a seed. And then those seeds probably turn red. And then these ones, you know, I don't know. I've never seen this plant before, but I guess I've only noticed it recently. So, you know, my awareness is being spread. You know, okay, so here, you could see the stalks. There's a cluster of berries here. That's on a native plant. It's a native shade plant. It's a monocot, hence the parallel veination on the leaves. Those flowers were probably white and delicate looking. Because I have seen the flowers before, and I might remember what they looked like, but barely. Now, the resurrection ferns, I don't know, it's not Selaginella. It's not Selaginella. But it's definitely in the Pteridaceae with a P. Pteridaceae. There's all family members, plant families end in ACEAE. And yeah. But there could be endemism going on here, where I think, well, the alumroot in the little ferns, they can only grow in places like this, on mossy, steep areas, which is where I've noticed them only. That's only where I've noticed them. Steep, mossy hillsides. Oh wow, this is bad. Okay, we just sit. This is invasive, and this is this is another thing that was probably on someone's sock or shoe, and it was brought here. This is sticky weed, and you can see, it's very sticky indeed, and you know, if this is stuck to my clothes, you know, it's just, because there's a bunch of little hairs all over it. Well, hooks. They're hooks, actually. And there are hooks that probably go in multiple directions. Let's see. I can't tell. What direction do the hooks go in? Okay, so they go, so this way it's smooth, but when I do this, it's rough. So they point backwards on the leaves. And this is what gets stuck to your pants when you walk in the bushes. Just like this. And this is what, you know, this is what causes a bunch of complaints. It's invasive shit like this. And it has no context. And, you know, when you take them off, you know, I'm just sacrificing my time just to show you what they do, so they pick it off. And this is made to depend on animals walking in the bushes to disperse its seeds, which unfortunately I am doing because I have no choice. And I wanted to show you, for academic, educational purposes, what it does. Not because I like thrill. I'm not all into the thrill shit that this, you know, some of the teenage guys do, or, you know, young people. They, you know, smashing bottles or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I have no say because I don't do that. Like, I don't even know. I don't even want to know much about that. But I was just showing you what it does. And it, you know, a lot. It's everywhere. Especially in my side yard, it's everywhere. And you know, if I want to plant wildflower seeds, and save the plants of those seeds. It was invasive tested, so it was not. It was not invasive, so I could keep all of them. But that's what I got to remove, and that's what happens when you let the sticky weed grow. When you let it be, which I have done before, out of curiosity, and then I learned that it doesn't. It's not. It doesn't end up being beautiful. The flowers are really they're super tiny. So it's definitely a plant that hitched a ride on someone's sock or pants or shoe. It could not have been brought here intentionally. And there's a whole bunch of plants that have just overtaken the hillsides and everywhere. Because of that, they have no herbivores to maintain them. No, no disease. Well, no. I don't know. All they have is a good climate and nothing attacking them. So they're just left to spread and take over, just like the English ivy. I feel bad for this person here. I mean, not only do they live on the dead end of a street, but like these. I mean, miraculously, these survived the storms of 2023 when the wind was 65 miles per hour. That was cool. I mean, I wish we had more of that, but of course that's just me, and I'm not looking at it at a bigger, long-term or, economic or societal level that, my appreciation for storms like that, that was cool. But it was very expensive damage, but, that's gotta go. This has gotta go. These also have to go because they have, back in Australia, this is pretty, but here, because our land, our native land, is not meant for invasive plants, and it's not meant to have eucalyptus. The soil and the plants around it that are native they're like, what the fuck is going on? There's a bunch of chemicals in those leaves that make it smell, and it oils. So in Australia, the fire adaptation, these are fire adapted. I think the seeds will stay on. I don't think they dehiss like on their own seasonally. I don't know, but in Australia they depend on fire, and here there's a bunch of fire suppression, and so you let these get huge, you let them spread, and they end up growing more offspring like that one here, and then they just end up forming a monoculture of 100-foot tall trees that shouldn't exist in California, and they're naturalizing, which I will continue to refuse to believe. I mean, I believe it. Well, they are naturalizing, but I really dislike that term because it's like a submissive way to say, we can't do anything about it, but we can. People like me and other people who want to do restoration projects, we can remove the entire monoculture of eucalyptus in Tilden and the Berkeley Hills, and you know, do a lot of restoration projects over there, which, you know, it has to be done. It's getting out of hand up there. I'm curious. I do want to see what's up there, but you know, this video is super long and I need to end, and I pretty much showed you plenty for now. So yeah, that is all for today. Thanks for joining me here among the watch poplars. They're orange, but you know, whatever. Yeah, and I'll see you next time.